Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of Chopping It Up with Ramel. Listen, we're going to get right to it. We're going to talk about the NFL. And if I have some time, I'm going to talk about a little boxing because we got a couple of big matches coming up within the next this month and also coming up in November. But first, let's get to the NFL. Week 3, we're going to talk about previews. There's some great matchups that's going on. There's some 2-0 teams, undefeated teams that I want to talk about. There's also some surprise teams. And then I want to talk about Jalen Ramsey. And if you're out there and you're tuning in, please put some comments out there. Show your love. You can follow me on YouTube. You can subscribe to the channel. You can follow me on Chopping It Up with Ramel on the Facebook page. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. So we're going to get right to it. We have week 3 upon us. And, you know, with two weeks into the two games into the season, I mean, it's not like the season is over for a lot of teams or anything like that other than Miami. Miami, their season is over. But, you know, one thing about football, I can't stress it enough, with only 16 games, every game is really important. It's not like you can take a week off in the NFL. Every game is important. So we're coming up on week 3. We got some critical matches coming up. You got Cincinnati, who's 0-2. Denver, that's 0-2. And I'm sure these teams had aspirations to make the playoffs. And Cincinnati coming off of that loss to San Francisco. And what a way to segue. Because San Francisco is one of those teams that, to my surprise, the 49ers, yes, to my surprise, they're 2-0. And with quality wins. They went down to Tampa Bay the first week of the season, won that game. Then they took on Cincinnati and won that game. And to my surprise, I had a conversation during the offseason with a good friend of mine who's a strong 49ers fan, and he told me to watch out for them. He said that they're a playoff contender. And I'm like, are you serious? You know, but at the end of the day, they starting the season off 2-0. And remember this, I'm a firm believer of this. The more games you win in the beginning of the season, the less you need at the end of the season. And San Francisco is coming out 2-0, looking good. You know, Galapagos, if I'm saying his name right, came out of New England Patriots, was traded to San Francisco and signed a big contract before he even proved himself. But if you look at his resume, and although he's been in the league maybe about 4 years and played sporadically, he has a winning record as a quarterback. I believe he's somewhere around 10-2 as a starter. And that's filling in for Brady and also starting over in San Francisco before getting hurt. So there may be some tools that he has. He may be a solid player. I think he got paid prematurely. But at the end of the day, the guy has won every time he stepped on the field. I believe his record is something like 10-2. So that's pretty impressive. And if the 49ers can keep this up, think about that for a second. If they can keep this up, it would be something if the wild cards, plural, the wild cards come from the NFC West. With that said, is the NFC West the best division in football right now? Because right now you feature 3 undefeated teams. You have 3 teams that are 2-0. The Rams, Seattle, and the 49ers. And Arizona Cardinals, they're 0-1-1. So, and with a promising quarterback, a young quarterback, Kyler Murray, a promising quarterback. Okay, so is the NFC West the best team? I mean, the best division in football? Some may argue that. They're 2-0, 3 teams that are 2-0, the only division that features that right now. The NFC East doesn't feature that, and they only have really 2 playoff contenders, and that would be the Cowboys and the Eagles. The NFC South, they cannot say that. Although they may feature 3 playoff contenders, but with the absence of Drew Brees, who knows? The way Cam is injured, who knows? You can't trust Jameis. And lately, you don't know what you're getting from Matt Ryan and the Falcons. Now, the NFC Central, where it features the Packers, the Lions, the Bears, and the Vikings, they may have 3 playoff contender teams there. But right now, as we speak, the NFC West is 2-0. And I'm going to tell you something. I know the Pittsburgh fans don't want to hear this, but Pittsburgh going into San Francisco without Big Ben, this could be Pittsburgh's season right here. This could be Pittsburgh's season right here. Because I personally don't think they get a win against San Francisco this week. I think San Francisco is feeling good about themselves. And I think that they are getting some sort of confidence, gaining confidence. And as long as they continue to play the way they've been playing and perhaps stay injury-free or not too many major injuries, the San Francisco team may get off to a better start than many think. I look for them to be 3-0 after the weekend. I think they take Pittsburgh out at home as Pittsburgh looks to try to rebound from the loss of Big Ben. You know, Pittsburgh is going for it. And to me, they made that statement when they traded for Fitzpatrick out of Miami and gave up the first-round pick. They're not looking to rebuild. That tells me they're not looking to get their future quarterback next year in the draft. They're looking to play now. But to me, the only way they can do it and win now is they got to sign Kaepernick. If Pittsburgh refuses to sign Kaepernick, and why is this the perfect spot? I got to go there. It's the perfect spot simply because you have an injured quarterback that's not coming back. So it's not like, oh, he's only out for a few weeks. He's not coming back this season. So if you sign Cap in place of Big Ben, you'll have Cap for the whole season. And then not only that, if the Roonies is so into the minority aspect where they came up with the Rooney Rule where a team must interview a minority coaching candidate before selecting one, then you should be the one to go sign Kaepernick. Then the Steelers should be the team to go sign Kaepernick. As simple as that. As simple as that. You should be the team to go sign Kaepernick. And that will salvage your season. Because otherwise Pittsburgh, you're going to be behind Baltimore and Cleveland if you don't go out and get Kaepernick. Juju is finding out that life is not that good without Antonio Brown. I remember back in the days, and this is to the Cowboy fans out there, when Cowboys had Michael Irvin and Alvin Harper, a great set of wide receivers. They were dynamic together. In fact, they won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. Alvin Harper thought he was a number 1. He decided to take the money. Can't blame him for that. But he went to Arizona. I don't think we've heard from him since. He was never that player. Yeah, he was a great player for the Cowboys, but life was so much easier when you had Michael Irvin on the other end of the line of scrimmage. When they're double covering him and you getting single coverage and maybe even forgotten about. But now when you go somewhere and be the number 1 option, and you're clearly not a number 1 option, life is not so grand on that field. And Juju is finding that out in Pittsburgh as he is suffering from the loss of Antonio Brown. And now, on top of that, an unproven quarterback. If Pittsburgh wants to stay relevant, go sign Kaepernick. And that's why I have Pittsburgh falling to San Francisco this week on the road in San Francisco. I think San Francisco is going to win that game. But it should be a good game because I know Pittsburgh's going to play with pride. But San Francisco should win that game rather easily. I'm not going to spend too much time on my Jets. The Jets is going to start off the season 0-3. They're depleted. They're down to a third-string quarterback. They signed some guy I don't know. Adam Gase don't have a clue. They're going to go into New England, and that's going to be another loss. I can see New England just running the score up on them. I remember in the in the 18-0 season, Belichick said, "It is not my job to stop my offense from scoring. It's the other team." So I look for them to run it up on the Jets. So that no game there at all. The Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to tell you something. A statement came out yesterday. It looks like they're going to release this guy, Taco Charlton. All right, whether he's good, whether he's not, whether he can help Cowboys, whatever the case is, I find that to be something of some sort of significance. And this is why. Are they making room for someone? Are they making room for someone? Listen, the Dallas Cowboys have played as well as any team coming out the gate this season. They look like Super Bowl contenders. Yeah, maybe they could get a piece here, a piece there, but they look like Super Bowl contenders. But if they're releasing Taco Charlton to make room for a possible blockbuster trade to add Jalen Ramsey to that backfield on the defensive side of the ball, we might be in some trouble, Philly. We just might be in some trouble, Philly. This is a moment for Philly to steal a page from George Steinbrenner to go out and sign a player or trade for a player so the Boston Red Sox wouldn't get him. Well, the Eagles need to do the same thing. They need to go out there and trade a number 1 draft pick and a 4th-round draft pick for Jalen Ramsey before the Cowboys find a way to scoop him up. Because if memory serves you correct, you Cowboy fans, Jerry Jones wanted him in the draft. He had no idea that Zeke was going to be available to him with the 4th pick. He was already looking at Jalen Ramsey. It just so happened that in that same draft, I believe the Rams and the Eagles decided to draft quarterbacks, and somehow or another it left Zeke there for the 4th pick for the Cowboys. And I mean, you're looking at it now. You got 2 great players. You can't say which would have been a better fit, whatever the case is. But the fact Zeke is working out, Ramsey still can get there. I mean, this is the same team that traded the number 1 pick for Amari Cooper last year. Why not trade a 1st-round pick for Jalen Ramsey? Because I tell you this, there's not a player that's coming out of the draft next year that will have the same impact on a Cowboy team or for that matter on the Eagles team than what Jalen Ramsey can do right now. Right now. Jalen Ramsey is possibly playing his last game tonight in a Jacksonville uniform. And he might make history to play for 2 teams in the same week of the season. Because if he plays tonight and get traded by tomorrow, which I expect him to be traded, he may be able to suit up for Sunday night's game. Something that I think we haven't seen before. Jalen Ramsey, for those who don't know him, and I know who he is, out of Florida State. His idol is Deion Sanders. This is a linebacker with wide receiver speed playing the cornerback position. He brings the wood. He's a shutdown corner. He's a difference maker. There's a lot of teams that's probably lining up for his services, and Jacksonville is probably going to try to get as much as they can. But this guy, he's a difference maker on defense. And I tell you, the Eagles, my team, the Eagles, they need to get this guy because we cannot afford him to have a star on his helmet. The other team that's looking at him is Andy Reid in Kansas City. They're looking at him as well. Would it be something if he gets scooped up by New England? Because they seem to find a way every year. And oh, by the way, Jalen Ramsey's still on a rookie contract. So it's not like his salary is astronomical. Yeah, you trade for him, you have to pay him because you may have to give up 2 picks. So you're not giving up 2 picks for a rental. But yes, you're going to have to pay this guy. But he's worth it. He's the best cornerback in the game as we speak. Jalen Ramsey. So Dallas, they got a cream puff game this week. They're playing Miami. Like I said in my last show, local high school probably can beat up on Miami right now. But my point is this. Sometimes those games are the tough games because you look ahead and you forget that you are playing some professionals. So you got to be a little bit careful on that. They have Miami this week, and then they have New Orleans the following week. So, if you're looking ahead to the New Orleans game and forget to show up against Miami, maybe it could be a letdown. I doubt it. I think that Miami is that bad. I think Dallas goes and have their way. This is one of those games where you don't want nobody to come out with any injuries. That's about it. Yeah, you just don't want anybody to come out with any injuries. You got a huge game to watch. Now, I don't know if the contest is going to be close, but to me, it's a big game. And we may be looking at the future of NFL quarterbacks. When you got Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. They're both undefeated. They're playing in Arrowhead. I got Kansas City on this, but I'm just intrigued to see what Lamar Jackson does, because if there's a weakness of Kansas City, it is their defense. And Lamar Jackson is exceptional right now. I mean, what he's doing is just phenomenal. I mean, this is a guy, the only player in NFL history to throw for 250 yards and also rush for 120 yards in the same game. That's very impressive. You would think Michael Vick done it, or Steve Young, or maybe even Randall Cunningham. But that's impressive. And if the Kansas City defense is not ready to play come Sunday, they're going to have their hands full with Lamar Jackson, because this guy is exceeding with confidence. His confidence is rising as we speak. And the team is supporting him and rallying around him. It's a good feeling when you walk into your office or to where you report to work and you find out that a Super Bowl winning quarterback has been traded because they handed the reins over to you. That's like hitting lotto. And this is the same guy that was told when you get to the league, you should change positions. And all he's doing is exceeding as a starting quarterback. In fact, in the 10 games that he has started, dating back to last season, he's 9-1. This is the same guy that was told, you should change position. But he's 9-1 as a starting quarterback. Let that sink in for a minute. Lamar Jackson. So he's going up against Pat Mahomes, who, wow, what can I say about this guy? Is he the Kobe Bryant of quarterbacks right now? Is he that next quarterback? Is he going to be the guy that 20 years from now, we're talking about him and he's at the top of every statistical category that a quarterback can be in? To me, the only downfall he has right now, who's probably his blessing at the same time, is Andy Reid as his head coach. Because Andy Reid cannot win the big game. He cannot sink the money shot. Once upon a time, he was the head coach of that team there. We went to 5-6 straight NFC championship games. And only once made it to the Super Bowl. And that was the year with Terrell Owens. Andy Reid cannot sink the money ball. He cannot. Great coach. He can get you there. He can teach you, improve you. But he can't sink the money ball. Speaking of the Eagles, they got Detroit at home this week. I look for the Eagles to come out victorious on this particular one. I think Eagles bounce back. Detroit, they're a tough team, but it's not like they're automatic. So I look for the Eagles to bounce back. You got a good game coming on Monday night. You got Chicago and Washington in Washington. I have high expectations for Chicago. I thought Chicago would probably be uh, the division winner of that division. But after the first 2 weeks, they're struggling on offense. I don't know if Trubisky is that guy or not. And going into Washington on a Monday night, and Washington, they're 0-2. They put some points on the board, but they just couldn't keep up with some of the offenses that they played thus far, Dallas and Philly. I look for Washington to get a win come Monday night. I think Washington gets a win Monday night. I don't think Chicago comes in there and win unless they just got it together. But I don't see that happening. I think Washington gets their first win of the season come Monday night. It's probably going to be a pretty low scoring game unless Casey Keenum just happens to have a breakout game. But outside of that, I just see maybe something like 13-10, 17-14 at best. But I just see a defensive game. And, Khalil Mack brings the wood. So he's got that defense rattled up. But the problem is that Trubisky can't keep him off the field long enough. So I'll go with Washington. I think Washington wins that game at home. So that should be a good game. Then you got another winless team, and this is Denver going into Green Bay. I'm not the biggest Aaron Rodgers fan. I think he's one of the most overrated quarterbacks to play the game. Is he great? Yeah, absolutely. He's great. But these people have you thinking that he is the greatest quarterback ever. I look at something, I knock Eli a lot, but at least Eli had the opportunity, or he went back to the Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers, since his Super Bowl run, man, the guy has done this as far as carrying his team. And sometimes when you're a great player, you got to be responsible for 4 or 5 extra wins. You got to be responsible for a playoff win. As the great player, yes, you got to be responsible for that. And I just think that Aaron Rodgers, because he's accurate, yeah, it's easy to be accurate as a quarterback today. You can't touch him, nor can you touch the receivers. Look, Dak is probably one of the most accurate quarterbacks out there, and nobody's got him pegged to be a top 10 all time. You can't touch the quarterbacks, and you can't hit the receivers over the middle. So how hard is it to get it to the receiver? All the receiver got to do is hold on to the ball. So I look for Denver actually to steal a win this week. I think Denver's going to go into Green Bay. Green Bay's going to be a little relaxed. Denver's going to be hungry because Denver feels they're a playoff team. They feel that they're much better than what they are. They're going to play for some pride. This is a team, the last 5 years, 6 years, they've been to 2 Super Bowls. They're going to try to bounce back. So I look for them to go into Green Bay, yes, and get a win this week. You got Oakland. I follow Oakland because I kind of debate with some guys on the job, and I just feel like John Gruden has just ruined that franchise. I think he was too far removed from the game to get back in the game, and I don't see anything that the Raiders would be doing at this time. I just don't see it. I think they go into Minnesota and they catch an L. I think Minnesota wins. I think Kirk Cousins is going to have one of his better games, and I think Minnesota just beats him. I'm not a fan of John Gruden. I think he should be removed from the team. He's ruined the team. This is a guy that had 2 of the top 20 players under 25 years old on his roster. One on offense, one on defense, and he decided to let them go to rebuild with older players. With older players. With older players. He traded Amari Cooper and Khalil Mack. I can't see it. I can't see it. And he's getting a pass for it. And then the incident with Antonio Brown, he's getting a pass on that. But you know what? It's on your watch. Regardless to his behavior, it is on your watch. So you have some kind of involvement in this? Could it have been handled differently? Can Antonio Brown handle himself differently? Sure. Yes and yes. But it's on your watch. But yet you made room for this type of movement by letting go of Amari Cooper and Khalil Mack. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. 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 So Oakland gets their loss. It's going to be interesting. The Giants coming off of two bad losses. They make a coaching change. I think the fans is probably split on it. At this point here, I don't think the Giants is a playoff team. Why not give the youngster Danny Dime an opportunity? It's not kind of the way you would like to see a guy that may have the inside track to the Hall of Fame and Eli Manning. But you know what? It may be that time. I think you don't keep Eli out the Hall of Fame. This is a guy that has 2 Super Bowl wins and actually has played his best moments in Super Bowl games. I don't think you leave him out. But I read this morning somewhere, that Jim Plunkett has 2 Super Bowl victories as a quarterback, and he's not in the Hall of Fame. And he's also had a 500 subpar record, and Eli Manning is borderline 500. I think Eli gets in. He done it in New York, one of the biggest stages. He was consistent. He's a tough guy. He played every game until they benched him. He never sat out. He had the great Kurt Warner there. He didn't get rattled. He stepped up, and he held the position. I think he's a Hall of Famer. I think he gets in. You take 1 Super Bowl away, then he's borderline. I don't think he gets in. But with the 2 Super Bowls, Eli Manning is in. But nevertheless, they go down to Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay had that good win against Carolina on Thursday night last week. So they got extra days to prepare, extra days off. I think this is going to be a tough matchup for the Giants on the road. But if there's a team for a rookie to get his feet wet, this might be the team. Because Tampa Bay is not, and I repeat, is not a playoff contender. Okay? But they'll play you tough. They got Todd Bowles over there as the defensive coordinator, former head coach of the Jets. I'm sure he's going to dial up some defenses, make it tough for the rookie. But if you want him to play other than Miami, this is probably a good matchup for him. So I look for the game to be close, but I think Tampa Bay squeaks it out because they're at home. The Atlanta Falcons, they beat my Eagles last week. And it was a great come-from-behind win. The Atlanta Falcons is not the team that we saw go to the Super Bowl. Something is missing. You know, Dan Quinn, he fired 3 coordinators before the season started, during the offseason. The pressure's on him now. If he doesn't get it done this year, he can't point the fingers at somebody else because it's on him. I think this game in Indianapolis for the Falcons on the road is going to be a tough game. I think Jacoby Brissett has got some confidence. The Colts got a beefed up offensive line. I think this is going to be a tough game for Atlanta. Atlanta is clearly the better team. They should come out victorious. Calvin Ridley, he looked like Randy Moss against the Eagles. If he's emerging, defenses can be in trouble. Defenses can be in trouble if Calvin Ridley emerges and plays opposite side of Julio Jones. But something about the Falcons, they're only consistent at being inconsistent, and you can't bet your home on them because you might be homeless. And they're clearly the better team this week up against Indianapolis. But I think this game is going to be a lot closer than what people think. And I think Indianapolis is going to have a chance to pull this one out. I'm not saying they're going to win, but I think they're going to have a chance to pull it out. Atlanta better come out strong. Colts has got some confidence. Brissett, he's getting the opportunity to show what he can do. I think he's going to make the most of it. I look for Colts to play very strong. As far as making the playoffs, the Falcons, at 1-1, 14 games to go, I'm going to tell you, the NFC is so strong. You know, when you look at the beginning of the season, you figure both Cowboys and the Eagles would make the playoffs. That's one playoff spot from the wild spot that's done. When you look at the season when it started, you figure the Saints will win that division. This is where Atlanta has to man up and play some strong football. You have Drew Brees out for 4 to 6 weeks, possibly. You have Bridgewater there. If Bridgewater can't hold down the fort and only manage to go 500, this is where Atlanta has to step up. And that's 6 games that Brees is out. Atlanta's got to go 5-1. Because I don't think that Atlanta can get to the playoffs through a wild card spot. Because like I said, Dallas and Philly are going to the playoffs. One of them is capturing a wild card spot. The Rams and Seattle are going to the playoffs. So there go your other wild card spot. So I think the Falcons, to make the playoffs, they have to win their division. I believe that will be a tough task. I believe that will be a tough task. But it starts with these next 4 to 6 weeks. Because if they outplay New Orleans during that stretch while Brees is out, they can't go neck and neck with New Orleans while Brees is out. They have to capitalize on this moment. So if New Orleans is 3-3, Falcons better be 5-1. If New Orleans is 4-2, Falcons needs to be 6-0. If New Orleans is 5-1, Falcons' the season is over. Because even 6-0 don't help them. So they have to play some of their best ball within this next 6 games. And it has to start in Indianapolis. And I don't think that's going to be a pushover game. I just don't think so. The Cleveland Browns will have a winning record this year. They got a tough game this week, though. They play the Rams. And the Rams are for real. But I tell you what, if Cleveland's going to be for real, then they need to steal this win. It's plain and simple. It's in Cleveland. Just steal the win. Just steal the win. I mean, here's the thing. The Rams is clearly the better team. In fact, they just went to the Super Bowl. They're clearly the better team. But Cleveland's a talented bunch now. Don't get it twisted. Cleveland is a talented bunch. So, if they have a shot at a winning record or possibly playoffs, they have to play well against teams like the Rams. They're going to have to play. And here's the thing. Cleveland plays that division. Not only they're going to have to play well against the Rams, they're going to have to play well against the 49ers, they're going to have to play well against Seattle, and they're going to have to play well against Arizona. That could be mirroring Cleveland path. They both selected Oklahoma quarterbacks. Both quarterbacks were Heisman Trophy winners under Lincoln Riley. So they could be mirroring themselves. That NFC West, again, I mentioned it earlier in the show. It could be the toughest division in football. From a record standpoint, as we speak, it is. You got 3 teams, to my surprise, that's 2-0. Seahawks, Rams, and 49ers. And yes, I have the 49ers beating the Steelers this week. And I have the Rams beating Cleveland. I would like to say Arizona gets a win. I'm not sure about that. But here's a team that's 0-1-1. They got a draw in their first week. And Kyler Murray's playing good ball. So that could be, as we speak right now, could be the division to watch and could be the toughest in football right now. As San Francisco 49ers have surprised many and come out the gate with 2-0 record. And having their fans feeling good about themselves. Before I get out of here, I do want to touch on boxing. Next week, Saturday, not this one, the following Saturday. Great welterweight matchup. A great welterweight matchup. You got my guy, Errol Spence, who I think is embarking on pound for pound as one of the best boxers in the game, going up against Sean, the Relentless Porter. This guy's a relentless fighter. He got a little Joe Frazier in him. He's not as talented as Joe Frazier, but he got that stockiness, that physique in him, and he just throws a lot of punches, takes punches, and don't quit. He doesn't let up. Should be a good matchup. I got Spence winning that one. And then in November, just announced not too long ago, Canelo's jumping up 2 weight classes to fight the Bonecrusher. I'm a Canelo fan. I had Canelo when he fought Mayweather. I think Canelo's out of his league this time around. The Bonecrusher, he may be a little bit older, but there's a reason why they call him the Bonecrusher. Yeah, he puts you down. The guy's a serious fighter. He's heavier. He's stronger. Don't know if Canelo can withstand some of those punches. His speed is going to have to be a factor. But he's not going to be able to stand toe-to-toe with this guy. But all in all, it should be a good fight. We'll talk more about that. I appreciate everyone tuning in. And this is Ramel for Chopping It Up with Ramel. I see you all soon. Peace and blessings. Have a good weekend.